Hello to everybody, and I hope everybody's having a great night. Um, and thank you for joining me to check out one of my scary ghost stories. This is true, true life scary ghost stories that I have experienced, and I have several different things on my YouTube. So if you go on there, you'll find all kinds of things. I play music, I teach music, um, I upload important information or spooky information, spirituality stuff, religious stuff. Um, but right now, we're just getting into some fun stuff tonight. Out in the woods, all spooky by myself, and I'm finna tell y'all a ghost story. So, when I was around, I would say 11 years old, around 11 years old, I was raised in the church. My dad was a pastor. So anyway, we was at church. It was a Sunday, right? Well, it was a Sunday in January, and it had started snowing like the night before, right? And so because I had been raised in church, I had been to church every day of my life, seems like. So I was like, ooh, church might get caught off, you know what I mean? Because of the snow. Well, it didn't. We go to church, and I had made plans to go home with one of my friends after church. So after church, my parents, they went and had lunch with another couple that went to the church, XYZ. So they're having lunch, and lo and behold, my friend that I was supposed to go home with, they actually had already left. And, as kids, communication might get lost here or there. You know what I mean? But somehow communication was just like messed up this Sunday, right? So I end up getting left to church all by myself, right? Somehow the doors got locked. By the time I was like out to the parking lot to try to find my friend or whoever, I get back to the church doors or what. I go and see if my mama and papa was home, because they lived on one side of the property, and then my uncle, he lived like way adjacent on another side of the property where the church. There was like a big gymnasium. It was a big property, lots of acres. And so my little legs, I'm just like tramping through the snow, and I'm like, nobody's here, nobody's at home. Like, what the heck? I'm SOL. The only option I had was to go and walk down this dirt road that was beside my uncle's house, because there were several houses down that dirt road. And so I figured, I'll knock on someone's door and I'll call the folks that my parents were having lunch with, right? So, because back then there weren't even pagers yet. There was yellow pages and a landline in your memory. You know what I'm saying? So I'm walking through the snow, and I get to this brick house that's kind of close to my uncle's house, but it's like offset in the woods off of this dirt road. And I see this older lady like digging in her flower bed in front of her house, like beside of her door where the steps were. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, who's gardening in the snow? No one gardens in the snow. That's really weird. That's what my 11-year-old mind was thinking. That's really strange. Well, it was an older white lady. And as soon as I get walking up closer, she was like, "Hey, honey, are you okay?" And I said, "If you don't mind, I need to use your phone because I got left after church, XYZ." So she lets me in the house. I could tell you details about this house, of what it looked like, everything inside of the house. But not gonna go all into that. Anyway, I walk in, go through the kitchen, and the phone is like over on to the right. It's one of the rotary phones too, so whatever. I look at my parents' friends and I call them and I'm like, "Hey, Dad," or actually, the guy answered, "He's so and so residence," and I was like, "All right, Dad." So he was like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And I said, "So I'm calling from the house across from Uncle's house. I got left at church because, oh, excuse me, because everybody left, everybody left, and I was the only one waiting around, I guess." Anyway, it's so weird how I just got randomly left. Anyway, so I'm telling my dad this, and he's like, "Oh my gosh," he was like, "And you went to Mama and Papa's? They weren't there?" I was like, "Yeah, no one's home." And he was like, "Where are you again?" And I told him, and so he was like, "Well, all right." He was like, "Come and," he was like, "meet me at the church in 10 minutes," or something like that. So I hang up and I wait around a few minutes and I tell the older lady, "Thank you for letting me use her phone," or whatever. And I go walking up to the church. Met my dad, all this stuff. Well, I want to say it was a few months after that happened. My dad brought it up. He was like, "I can't believe you got left at church, blah, blah, blah." And he was like, and I guess he just let it slip. He was like, "I don't know, but that house has been abandoned for such and such many years." He was like, "So and so passed away there, and nobody's lived there ever since." And he said, "Who did you say that the old lady's name was?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, interesting. I think it's some of their family." Well, the family was the old lady that had passed away at that house, actually. Oh my God. So that was like one of my first real encounters with like a spirit, a ghost, whatever you want to call it. For me, it was like an angel, looking out for me, a ghost angel, because I got left alone. It was snowing, nobody was home, and this old lady be gardening in her garden in January? I don't think so. So, all right, so that is a wrap for tonight's ghost story. I'll be back with some more, and I don't know, I may post like one a day or something like that. I'm not sure yet, but stay tuned for more ghost stories because I got plenty and the supernatural is real. God bless you, and y'all have a good night.